You guys loved part 1 of the death metal 90s wrap up, so we're gonna do a part 2.
We were only toddlers when a lot of these albums came out, but god damn it, there are some fantastic records here. Stick around for them.
All right, so we're adding on to the last video. So if you, for some reason, haven't seen that one, we'll link it down below. You can go check it out. We're gonna kick it off with an album that we missed on the first run around, Nocturnus the Key in 1990. Pretty fucking cool record. I love the riffing on this one. I love the old school production. And you know what I also love is the keyboards. Cool thing is, like, this is one of the first instances in death metal where you heard keyboards.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see how many people commented about this record because I'd never even heard of it, and I'd like to think I pride myself on even, you know, just knowing some of these records at least. The riffing was pretty good in most instances. The solos, however, just came across way too loud, very obnoxious.
I resigned today.
I really do like the sci-fi elements, like the bleeps and bloops and stuff like that. That was really cool. A bit overrated, I think, just based on some of the comments you guys were dropping in the comment section. I put it at a C+.
We're kind of agreeing. I have it a little higher at a B. I would still say it's awesome. You say it's good. So, you know what? Let's put it at the high end of good for now.
That sounds good.
And keep in mind, this stuff could move around.
Yes. Yeah, I think we're definitely going to want to be moving stuff around as we progress with these videos.
Speaking of progression, we're going to progress into the grave with Into the Grave. I love this album. A really cool, gross production on here, and for a debut, it definitely comes out swinging. Those fuzzy chainsaw guitars are so fucking cool. I would argue that it's definitely not their best record. That a lot of the debuts for a lot of bands are not. It's pretty goddamn rad, and it has one of the best Grave songs, Into the Grave.
Yeah, dude, title track is amazing. Deformed, Haunted. Just a Swedish death metal classic, not quite up there with Dismember or Entombed in terms of that HM2 sound, but absolutely a classic album in its own right. Awesome riffing, grimy, super unique atmosphere. I have it at B+. I think it's really a great album.
Yeah, same here, B+. This is such an awesome record.
Yeah.
I would say it belongs somewhere alongside Immolation Incantation.
I agree, yeah.
It's above Unleashed.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do that. Gorguts considered dead. I'm embarrassed to say that we forgot Gorguts on part 1, but you know what? That's why we're doing a part 2, and we're gonna do a part 3, and maybe even a part 4, because there's just so many great debut death metal records from the 90s.
Is it done, Yuri?
It has only begun.
Dude, one of my all-time favorite records. It's just such a timeless fucking classic. Songs like Stiff and Cold, Discarnated.
I shall never come.
Considered Dead, the title track. Just so this is an S tier for me. Such a good album.
Awesome, dude. I have this at A, definitely essential. It's much more thrash oriented than their later works. You know, you think of Gorguts, you think of Obscura, you're thinking very highly atmospheric, super technical stuff. This is just like in your fucking face, like death metal, dude. It's great. When I say thrash, I don't mean like crossover. I just mean like kind of the riffing and stuff like that. Dude, this is progressive death metal at its finest in 1991. Please put it at S because it deserves that spot.
Yeah, it's so good. And you know what? It's one of my favorite album arts on this list too. Like the purple with the green is just so cool to look at.
You don't see that a ton. I mean, maybe in that Malevolent Creation, and Nocturnus has a kind of a cool album art too.
Yeah. Asphyx, The Rack. I love this band. I don't know why I'm making the stop motion here. Halt!
You have 20 seconds to comply.
I love this band, but I will admit The Rack is definitely not the first album of their catalog that I'll reach for. I do love the guitar tone on here, though. It's got a gnarly bite to it. It's vicious as hell, but it's pretty fucking sloppy. Like, the transitions are like, how did you keep that take sometimes?
Yeah, right.
Can I have some wine, please?
But I will say, some of those early Death Doom crossover moments, fucking chef's kiss.
Yeah, man. Asphyx is a band that I really enjoy their later work. This was a rough album to come out with. You couldn't really do what you do now in the 2000s, where you can sit in your room and just hash out riffs forever. A fantastic band with Asphyx. Very sloppy debut. I think that the vocal performance is like wretched on this. I do
Really?
not.
I don't agree with you.
Care for it at all. I do not care for it.
It reminds me of, like, I will say it's forward in the mix and you can hear like the throatiness of it. It almost kind of reminds me of like how throaty Enslaved sounds on their earlier records. But I don't know. I like the vocal performance a lot, but
Okay.
You're entitled to your opinion.
Yeah, thank you. I have it as C.
I have it at B minus.
Okay.
So keep in mind, C tier still means good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Right.
Or awesome minus. I'm going to put it at the tailing end.
Tail end of B. All right.
Demigod, baby.
Oh boy.
Slumber of Sullen Eyes. Way the fuck ahead of its time.
Wicked ahead of its time. Dude.
Extremely tight record. Absolutely killer guitar tone. The vocals are just unmatched. So fucking cool. As I Behold, I Despise. The title track is amazing, and Embrace the Darkness. This is an A tier for me.
Yeah, man. I also put Towards the Shrouded Eternity as one of my favorite songs. It's a little bloated. The album's a little bit long, but I mean, this is one of the few albums on here that I get excited to listen to it from front to back. Record still sounds unique to this day. This is my S tier. Out of all the albums on this list, I had to put this one at S for sure.
You know what I love about you in these rankings is like you're not afraid to take some of like the underdog albums and just be like, nah, man, that's my fucking S tier. Last video, you're like Cryptopsy None So Vile. Not a lot of people would pick that for their S tier.
I'm a unique individual. That S tier is insane, dude. B is looking a little bloated. We might have to move things around.
Yeah, especially now we have some things in context. Stick around to the end and you'll see how it shakes out. One of our favorite bands, Amorphis, Karelian Isthmus. 1992, this is just such a fantastic band. They kind of went off and turned into a lot of different things throughout their career. You know, they went to the whole doom side of things. Then they went to this like kind of goth prog epic sound that they do nowadays. Early days, it's like pretty sick death metal with some melodic sides to it. I really like this record a lot.
Yeah, before I even like spun this, I was like, about the record, but then I put it on and I was like, dude, this is super cool. It's definitely prototype melodic death doom. More on the death side, kind of like how Asphyx kind of brought in some of those doom tropes. You can see in Amorphis those elements that they were gonna chase after later in their career.
Absolutely.
A lot of those folk elements, a lot of those progressive kind of elements. This is just a really cool record. I have it at B minus. For me personally, I'd probably put it square in the middle of all those.
I would put it above Unleashed.
Yeah.
It's around Grave for me. Might be a little above Grave for you. But tell us how much you hate that. Sinister, Across the Styx. This is one of those examples. I said this in the first part where, you know, sometimes you get a death metal record where it's okay that it's just a straight up death metal record and it fucking kicks ass. This is an example of that. It's an extremely solid and outright classic death metal album in the 90s that I would argue is pretty underappreciated and not a lot of people talk about it. And it's one of the first Netherlands-based death metal bands.
I didn't realize that.
It's really cool when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like that whole metal scene, there's so many heavy hitters in it. And the fact that these guys were, you know, one of the early pioneers coming out of the country in death metal, that to me is a very cool fun fact.
Vicious death metal for sure on Sinister, taking pages from the Thrash Handbook again. This album does get very similar for me. Like some of the songs are very samey. I do like Perennial Mourning, Doomed, and Epoch of Denial as far as songs go. I have it at B-. I see that B is getting quite bloated.
It's better than Asphyx. I would say it's not better than At the Gates. What do you guys think? It won't matter because this will be published.
We're not live, so hey.
We'll do that for now. That's fine.
That looks okay. Yeah, we notice how we haven't had any D picks yet. None of these are okay.
No, they're all good.
Yeah,
maybe part 3 will have some okays.
I think we might even see some in part 2.
Oh, 6 Feet Under, Haunted. Say what you want about Chris Barnes with him just being a dreadlocked dope fiend, but this record fucking slaps. It's really good. It's straight groove. It's catchy as hell. In my opinion, they've never quite topped this album. And you know what? That's okay. For me, this is a B tier, awesome death metal record.
No, I absolutely agree. I think I love like the sludgier elements that this band leans into, you know, taking that Floridian death metal style, and incorporating some sludge. Awesome. Some great riffs on here. I really like the production too on this. I hate that 6 Feet Under has basically become the Chris Barnes band.
I agree. That's a good point.
It's not deserved, dude. It's not deserved at all. Enemy Inside, Lycanthropy, we both have those as songs that stand out. I like Beneath the Black Sky. I have this at like B-, and it's weird to think that this would be above
Cannibal Corpse.
Cannibal Corpse. Like screw us and our hypocrisy, goddammit.
Yeah, it's funny. But I mean, to be honest, Eden Back to Life, I know at the time people who were like probably teenagers when Cannibal Corpse came out, that album art is just so freaking good. And a lot of the times when you walk into an actual store, the album art is what grabs you first. If you put those two albums side by side, you're probably gonna buy Cannibal Corpse without hearing it. You know, we love groove more than straight up thrashy death metal. So maybe it's just personal opinion. It always is. So
this whole video is.
yeah. So, you know, your ranking is all yours.
That's
and
it.
we won't judge you. Where's it gonna go? It's definitely around Grave.
Yeah.
It's better than Amorphis. Well, I just like that Floridian sludgy sound a lot. I'm a huge Obituary fan, and there's a bunch of, you know, similarities there.
Tons of similarities.
So let's put it there.
That's good.
All right.
That looks good.
Time for some butt. If you like Krisiun, that's fine.
Butt Force Domain.
I don't like this album. Krisiun, Butt Force Domain, Black Force Domain. Brazilian bands do, I will give them credit. They know how to keep it fucking savage. Like, Brazilian death metal in general, Brazilian any kind of metal is just like some of the most top tier, savage, evil stuff. This album is just dripping with pure hatred and evil. I would say it accomplishes what it's set out to do, and it does a really good job at that. If you like constant blast beats, you might really dig this, but for me, I don't. So it's a C tier.
This is my first D tier. Death metal for me does not have to be musical, but I prefer it to be, which is why I like bands like 6 Feet Under. They have groove and stuff like that.
Yeah, you have Cryptopsy in S tier.
That's
Hypocrite!
Whoopsie! Oh no! Cognitive dissonance is one of my favorite things, folks. So
I don't judge you. It's fine.
No, seriously though, this to me is like the opposite end of, if Cryptopsy is like to me the perfection of murderous, chaotic, brutal death metal, Krisiun with their debut Black Force Domain is on the opposite end of the spectrum. I think this is super monochromatic. All the guitar solos sound very similar. The blasting and the kick drums don't do this album any justice.
It's too unrelenting and samey.
And if you make something like that, you have to have moments to let the listener breathe, to allow that unrelenting force seem like it's constantly unrelenting.
Yes, if you're always at 11, you don't feel going to 11.
Exactly.
Cryptopsy does do that.
Yes.
Which I will give you that.
Yes. So
okay.
It's okay. I can't. I love Hunter of Souls and Infamous Glory. I think Infamous Glory might be one of the coolest like instrumental metal
that's
tracks.
A cool song.
And I like later Krisiun stuff. I just think this is a rough debut.
Yeah, good band though. I still respect them.
For sure.
It's an okay album. It's not dog shit. We are, but
my spirit is.
Dog shit is my spirit animal. Dying Fetus, Purification Through Violence, not a dog shit band. I love this record. It's super short. No one in 1996 sounded like this. That's the thing. These guys came out and you're like, wow, you can do death metal vocals that low? Not only that, they know how to do those crazy guitar runs. They're sloppy on this record, but they've kept it ever since, and it's awesome. And they know how to do a hook and a slam. That's where this band gets me, man. And I have always loved this record. I've always loved this band. This is an A tier for me.
I'm on the other side of the fence with this. I love this band. I think that their last album was amazing, but I think to me, this is a band that really crawled before they ran. I don't like the sloppy nature of this. I think it's a little too disjointed. I really like the song Permanently Disfigured and Nothing Left to Pray For. Those are really great songs.
6 songs.
I think I was a little harsh on it. I put it at C. I'd probably bump it up to B.
Yeah.
Just given the landscape that we're looking at here.
We have to do it.
If you want to put the end to A, I think that'd be fine too.
It's probably around here in between Immolation and Incantation.
Okay. Disembowelment seems really out of place.
It seems high.
It seems super high right now.
I think this should go, I would say it belongs there. This is a fucking sick record.
Yes.
All these three are pretty fucking sick.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. I'm okay with that for now. It might move around again. Who knows? Stay tuned.
Just doing it as we go.
Yeah, just stay tuned. We are not the knowledgeable people on all things that are death metal.
No,
so
especially this era, because like not even conscious for half of these.
I was a little Brandon with a bowl cut and Jinkos. This is one of my favorite bands on this list.
This was one of the first death metal bands I ever heard.
Really?
Yeah.
Mortician, Hacked Up for Barbecue. You gotta love the Tish, baby.
Yeah.
The Tish is the shit. Dude, the horror movie samples. This album's over an hour long, and it's so awesome. Dude, alongside that album artwork, what I will give the band is like, they are just such a cohesive package. When you look at that album art and you hear the horror movie samples, you are just transported into that world. You feel like you're in a VHS tape. Cremated, Witch's Coven, Zombie Apocalypse. Such a sick song. Awesome album.
Yeah, dude. This album is fucking fun. This is about as cinematic as death metal can get, you know, in terms of like cheesy horror, campy movies.
Would you shut the fuck up?
This is it. Like Mortician is the one that you think of, at least for us. I have it at B, like a B minus.
Yeah, it's a solid B, dude. Awesome record.
For sure, dude. And like even like the fake drums,
They work
brilliantly, dude.
Yeah.
It's in that super heavy, meaty, distorted bass.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude.
Yeah.
Like no one else does that. That's super unique.
It sounds so good.
I love this album.
I'm going to put it around 6 feet under. I think that makes sense. I would probably reach for this above Amorphis. The Tish, baby. Oh, boy. Uh-oh. Exhumed gore metal. An absolute death metal classic. I still listen to this record all the fucking time. I just love this album so much. The album cover is so cheesy and hilarious. It's so grimy and gross, but stupid at the same time.
You can tell that's not real.
Yeah. The vocals are unhinged.
Yeah,
It's just a killer record. This is by far an A tier for me.
100% agree with you here, man. This is one of my favorites on this list. It spawned its own sound. You had bands like Impaled and Ghoul just completely chasing after this sound. You know, you could argue that Carcass started it. I would argue that Exhumed perfected it. I love this record, dude.
You heard it
throw
here.
it right up at A, man. It deserves its spot.
It belongs there. Now we're going into the toilet with Devourment, Molesting the Decapitated. When this came out, it was a joke in our friend circle.
Yeah.
There's just no denying, though, that it was new and groundbreaking for the time. And I would argue that that really helped the band spread out because they set themselves apart from a lot of death metal bands at the time. But upon revisiting it, dude, it's kind of rough. Like the production totally ruins it for me. The music is super quiet. You can't even hear it compared to the toilet vocals that are just kind of floating over everything. Dying Fetus did this so much better.
Yeah.
It's an okay album at best, probably the low end of good.
Yeah, I have it at a hard okay. But I cannot deny the cultural impact that this record
Agreed,
made.
yeah.
It kicked off the second wave of brutal death metal with that emphasis on slam,
The pingy snare.
the 4-inch snare that's probably about as big as a donut. It's funny to look back at it and be like, damn, like that was a culturally impactful record, but it's not very good. It's just one of those things where it's like everyone looked at it and they were like, oh, I want to do something like that. And they did.
Yeah, and it's still going around.
Yeah, exactly.
Slam death metal. This is like the blueprint of it.
The brute print.
Yeah, the brute print. Now we're getting into Aborted, the Purity of Perversion. I still can't believe that this existed in 1999. It's actually kind of nuts. And for the time, like the drum sound on this is really good. It's super in your face. It's raw as fuck. I love how just polished it sounds, but also still just unrelentingly huge. It's bigger in production than a lot of the other old school death metal bands. The album cover, fun fact too, is actually from the 1992 Schlockfest film Split Second. Which, you know, if you're a schlock horror movie fan, that's kind of a fun fact. I would say that this is a awesome death metal record.
I really, really like Aborted, but I think this is kind of a weak debut for them. I like Gormageddon, Saw on the Carnage Done was really the album that really stood out for me. Nothing wrong with this album. There's nothing really super great about it either. It's one of those albums that, like Mortician, they really lean heavily into the campy horror movies. There's a lot of samples on here. There's a lot of nods to schlockfests and campy movies and stuff. I'd put it at the bottom of C, but that's just me personally. I know you like it a bit better.
I think Soulside Journey needs to come out of C tier because this is such a good album, and I may even want to promote Cannibal Corpse looking at all this stuff. Okay. I would say Aborted, I would agree with you, is either at the way bottom of B or at the top end of C. So let's do that first.
Okay.
We're throwing down. We have super divided opinions.
Yeah.
Necrophagist, Onset of Putrefaction. I haven't listened to this band in probably at least half a decade, maybe even nearly a decade. I did not like tech death back in the day when it started becoming popular. It wasn't until very recently with bands like Archspire that I really started getting back into it and understanding why I should have liked it to begin with. Dude, for 1999, upon revisiting this, I cannot believe how fucking tight this album is. It's crazy how tight it is. I mean, I understand the players on here are unbelievable. If you watch them live, we've seen them live, or at least I have. They are exactly this tight live, and it's crazy. There's a reason why musicians back then stopped dead in their tracks when this came out and was like, I have to do this. It completely spawned a new subgenre, and people are still fucking reaching for it and begging for this band to come back. So for me, this is an S tier.
Damn.
Go for it.
I don't know, man. I was definitely a bit hard on it. I have to note that this is one man. This album started with one man in one band in a dream of creating technical yet accessible death metal that is just brutal and savage and vicious. And I think songs like Mutilate the Stillborn, To Breathe in a Casket, Extreme Unction are like some of the best death metal songs of 1999. I think where I get hung up personally is it started this massive wave of guitarists that don't want to find their own voice. They just want to sit there and do guitar wankery. I give all the credit in the world to Muhammad for being an incredibly talented guitarist, for being an incredibly talented composer. It's insane. I could never do it. I am not capable of creating an album of this magnitude. However, I think that there were some second order effects in the culture that I kind of want to push back on a little bit.
But is that the band's fault?
It's not the band's fault. No, I have this at like an awesome, but I also don't want to take away your S tier. I think that's something that we've been pretty good at.
Don't take away my S tier. All right, we definitely need to move some things around.
Yes, this is cool.
I agree with these, even though you hate Necrophagist. This C tier does not make sense to me.
No, it does not.
Soulside Journey is better than some of these. Mm-hmm. I would argue that Asphyx should come down to C.
Okay.
But something needs to go up.
Soulside Journey.
I would say Soulside Journey. Mm-hmm. Sinister could come down because I would rather listen to either Eaten Back to Life or Aborted over Sinister.
I would demote Sinister, yeah.
It's better than Asphyx. It's better than Broken Hope. But what about Cannibal Corpse? Because I think this is actually a league above at least these. Mm-hmm. It's not better than Aborted. I would argue this.
I almost want to move Edge of Sanity down. Maybe not demote it, but down in B. I'd probably listen to Aborted over Edge of Sanity.
Same. You said this initially. I think I even agree with you that Mortician should go above Disembowelment.
I like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
That album is fun as fuck, dude.
Most of their early 90s stuff is a blast.
Yeah.
I think this is it.
That's fun.
We definitely missed some stuff. We're going to do a part 3. What are some other debuts that you want us to include in the next episode? How would you rank these records? Let us know down in the comments.
There's shirts if you like our stuff.
Yeah, down below. There'll be a link.
Go with the gods, Forge mates. You will be asphyxiated.